we are starting to see people reposition themselves for 2020, or in some instances just position themselves for 2020. And Cory Booker's project continues. He had the opportunity to, in Secretary of State, and these are the nomination hearings, or I should say confirmation hearings, of Mike Pompeo to be Secretary of State. Cory Booker addressed Pompeo's past history of, or I guess that's the only type of history, a history of consorting with some really popular Islamophobes.
Like John Bolton?
When it comes to making sure that we don't have terrorists brewing in places where Muslims congregate, there's a special place, right? They have an opportunity. It's more than a duty, more than a requirement. It's an opportunity, right, to be treated as, when someone from another faith says it can get characterized.
So if I can go on, because I have some more questions. So you think that Muslims in America who are in positions of leadership have a different category of obligation because of their religion? That's what I'm hearing you saying.
I don't see it. It's not an obligation. It's an opportunity.
Okay, so it's interesting because I do believe, though, all of us, when it comes to violent
Pause it for
action,
1 second. Pause it for 1 second. Okay, this is something that, I guess we haven't talked about in a while. But the obligation, or I should say, the idea that Muslims had a sort of an extra obligation to prove that they were Americans by doing more than any other Americans in terms of fighting terrorism was a big narrative for a while. That, you would hear, this guy was a veteran and fought, and that made them real Americans, or they were willing to spy on their community. That made them real Americans. And that concept, I don't know, it's pretty funny. It's a real opportunity to prove you're American. And not a lot of people get that opportunity because they're just, unfortunately for them, they're just, white Christians and
they don't have an opportunity to have spies in their churches.
They don't have the special opportunity to prove that they're American because everybody just knows they are. Continue.
I do believe, though, all of us, when it comes to violent actions or even violent words, have an obligation. And so I'm wondering, sir, do you know Frank Gaffney?
Yes, I do.
Oh, God.
And you've been on his show dozens of times.
I was on his show some, yes, Senator.
I have here over 20 times. And he has talked about Muslims should be, who abide by the adherence of their faith, should be considered, should be tried for acts of sedition and should be prosecuted. Did you remain silent when you were on his show? Did you ever question? Because I have a lot of his statements here. Mm-hmm. Did you remain silent on the? And he's, from my notes at least, you're a friend of his. Were you silent in your position of authority against these words that are violative of the American Constitution? Were you silent with him?
Senator, my record on this is unambiguous.
Sir, then if that's your response, you did not say anything to call out his remarks. What about Bridget Gabriel? Do you know her?
I do.
Someone who runs an organization that has been considered a hate group by the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Were you silent? Did you ever call her out on her remarks that are hateful or bigoted?
Senator, I've spoken to a number of groups, and I believe my record with respect to tolerance and the equal treatment of people. I think
you never. Yes or no? Did you ever call her out?
Senator, I couldn't tell you. I don't recall each statement I've made over 54 years.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's going to be interesting to see if Pompeo's going to. I mean, there is an opportunity, I would imagine, to not confirm this guy, but who knows?
Did Hillary help shape those answers? Rand Paul? Who could? No other Republican besides him is going to oppose this guy.
Unlikely, but who knows? Maybe someone wants to strengthen their never Trumper bona fides.
You know, I think it's, obviously totally nonsense, but great opportunity to, hold Jeff Flake to his, sanctimonious rhetoric here.
Good luck with that as well.
Well,
But,
obviously, good luck with all of them. I mean, it's not going to happen,
Right.
but I'm saying there you go. I mean, doesn't Flake, one of his objections to Trump is overt bigotry, supposedly. Well, here you go.
Well,
I can't wait for Paul Ryan to sit in the audience and then pull off a protest shirt and stop the hearings.
these firings are just giving anti-Trump politicians more chances to grill people on TV. It's like an
Right.
extension of the campaign. So, thanks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Hope springs eternal.
Like, I don't think that's what Democrats are going to win on, but yeah, it never hurts, I suppose, to trot out one of these ghouls and grill them in
Of
front
course.
of everyone.
Well, of course. I mean, this is part of their job to, theoretically question and, raise these things, to put people on alert, to create the narrative so that people keep an eye on it. So hopefully they'll be effective, at least in that regard.